What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for being a loyal listener of the podcast. If you haven't already gotten my first book, Live Better Now, it's officially out on Amazon.com. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that's already purchased the book, reviewed the book, or shared it with friends and family. It really, really means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead and visit Amazon.com and purchase Live Better Now. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Coach Zach podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Lauren KRASNODEMBSKI, helping busy-driven women reclaim their power so their passion for life and purpose shine. Lauren, how you doing today?
Great. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing very well. It's a beautiful day here in South Florida, 79 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I want to first thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hop on the podcast today. We're going to talk a little bit about finding your purpose, stepping into the greatest version of yourself, and thank you so much again. So tell us a little bit more about how women can find their purpose and reclaim their power.
Well, I think step one is really getting off your hamster wheel. I know that I was on just automatic repetitive patterns that were a lot of times unconscious. You know, I would start my day by like grabbing my phone and checking my work email. And then I would go on social media until my kids started crying. And the next thing you know, my day is just like completely hijacked. And what I kind of learned is that I was actually teaching the universe how I wanted to be treated by doing that. Like instead of taking some time for myself in the morning and grounding myself, whether that's 5 minutes or longer, it was almost as if the universe was responding to how I was treating myself. So I think step one is to really start to realize that whether or not you are on this automatic hamster wheel, and start to like learn about like your patterns, like what's bringing you energy, what's draining your energy.
Right.
I mean, from the second I stepped out of bed, I was anxious, you know, because I was looking at my emails piled up, and it was just this conundrum of downfall before my day even got started.
A lot of awareness needs to be had before we can even make any step further in the right direction. And I feel like a lot of people lack that. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I read this book and it was all about self-awareness. And she did this study and she called like the self-awareness unicorns, actually, because like 85% of us think that we're self-aware and we're not. And I fell into that 85% bucket. Like I really thought I knew myself, and but when it came down to it, you know, somebody asked me like what I was passionate about, and I was like, I pretty much had an oh shit moment. Like I have no fucking idea. And it sent me down this like trajectory of self-discovery about myself. And I realized, wow, I don't know that answer. And I didn't even know what I liked to do at the time because I was just constantly working, grinding, attending to everybody else's needs but my own.
Yeah, I love that answer, actually. You know, figuring out who you are as a person, what you want to spend your time, energy, and attention doing, what makes you feel fulfilled, what makes you feel accomplished. So, you know, before you were talking about what drains your energy and what kind of like fills your cup up. What are some of the things that fill your cup up, and what are some of the things that drain your energy?
Well, I mean, some of the things that fill my cup up now, I didn't know at the time. So like before, I had a really hard time being still. So like you could not pay me to sit in a fucking yoga class. Like, cause I was like, if I have an hour, which is not a lot of the time, I don't have an hour, right, between work and everything else. So I was like, if I have an hour, I'm going to go like burn as many calories as I can. So the thought of sitting in a yoga class was like absolutely not. But what I realized is like I actually enjoy yoga now. So I gave it a try. I hired a private instructor because I was a little, I mean, I didn't even know what a downward dog was. We were starting there. And yeah, it was just learning kind of how to be a little bit more still, because oftentimes when we're so busy, we can't even feel or think about what we want because we just continue to do what you're automatically programmed to do. And so that is something that fills my energy. I love talking to other people. It brings me energy, love hearing their stories. And I love writing now. I hated writing before, but I was able to move past a lot of imposter syndrome and some blocks that were holding me back. So sometimes it's, I always say that like when you can start to discover yourself, your passions and purpose actually find you. You don't have to find anything. All you have to do is kind of follow what brings you joy and follow, what you're good at and follow what's bringing you energy, because that in turn is actually going to lead you to where you need to go. So
Amazing. I love that. So when it comes to reclaiming our power, what do you think is the most important step? Obviously the awareness in the beginning, right? And this is kind of similar to the first question I asked, but what do you think after, if you have that baseline consciousness, that baseline awareness of what you're giving your time, energy, and attention to doing, what do you think is either the next step or the most important step on the journey to reclaiming your power?
I would say, follow your breadcrumbs. And what I mean by breadcrumbs is like, there's little things that are going to spark your interest, right? Or that are going to excite you. And like, on its face, right, it's going to look like a little breadcrumb, right? It's not going to look like much. And you're probably going to be like, what the hell is that? But the thing is if you can kind of give it some attention and kind of start collecting your breadcrumbs, you're going to have this like whole plate of menu, right? Where you're going to be like, oh, it's coming together. Like I see the meal now. And I can give you an example of that. So like I'm an attorney by trade and I still do that work, but through my corporation, they made me do like personality tests to see like what my strengths were and stuff. And I just remember devouring, right, these results and like continue to read until somebody interrupted me where I needed to do something else for them. And at the time that was a breadcrumb, but I didn't have enough awareness to understand that was a breadcrumb. So it's like really tune in again to your point. Step one is consciousness, and just don't underestimate these things that like excite you, because oftentimes we think we have to take a step back if like we want to do something else, and that is not the case, because you will be able to use like your experience and where you've gotten to today and make these breadcrumbs something. So like I'm using these personality tests and the retreats that I'm building. I'm using my ability to synthesize a lot of information as my attorney skills to provide people with services. So just don't underestimate these breadcrumbs and continue to follow what excites you,
Amazing.
because things will start to come together.
Follow your breadcrumbs. That's a good way of thinking about it. So when it comes to the personality test, I'm actually super interested in the personality test, and I don't know much about the personality test, but can you give us a little more information on the type of personality test that you use with your clients, and also some of the ones that are your favorite, and the benefits and results people will get from doing these personality tests?
Yeah. So my two favorite, one's more astrology based. It's the human design, and the second is the Enneagram. And you can get free reports online. You may have a harder time dissecting the human design versus the Enneagram. But I also want to preface, some people have like automatic blocks when they hear personality tests, because they feel like they're bucketed in this like box, right? Where you're like, you're telling me how I am, and maybe I'm someone different. We all have free will to be somebody different, or if you don't agree with that, or whatever it comes back, that's fine. Like you have a choice to show up differently or to accept whoever you are. I think what the personality test does, at least what it does for me and other people who I do them on, is sometimes when you're in this cloudy state of unclarity, unsure of where to go next, it provides like a framework,
Mm.
right? To where you can be like, okay, that lands, that resonates, that doesn't. It gives you a starting point to say, okay, yeah, that is me, or no, that's not, and I'm going to kind of divert elsewhere. So that's what I like about them, is that it gives you this starting point to like kind of leap off from.
So after doing your own personality test, how did that change the way you think, act, or live?
So I think for one, it allowed me to like fully embrace my strengths. Oftentimes, like we don't even know what our strengths are. And that was very true for me. Like I could not tell you probably what my strengths were. Oftentimes other people can see it in us versus like before we actually see it in ourselves. So it really highlighted the shit that I was good at and the shit that I should be focusing on. And it highlighted also some of the areas that like I could either work on or delegate. So that's what it did for me, and
Wow.
what I see it does for other people.
I definitely want to do a personality test because I feel like I have really high energy. I'm very outgoing. I tend to lead. I tend to dominate conversations, even though as a certified life coach, I've gotten a lot better at my listening skills. And I think that it would bring a lot of clarity to my life, and it would give me a better kind of like framework or reference to go off of. Because what you mentioned that really hit me, that really resonated, was how you started to learn more about what things to delegate and what you should be spending your energy on. And, sometimes, who knows, like, humility is so important because there's probably a lot of things that I'm doing wrong, even though there's a lot of things that are going well. There's definitely a dozen or so ways, probably even more, that I could be better. And I do lack some awareness in some areas of my life, but these personality tests will bring a lot of clarity to that, right?
100%. And I will say the human design really fascinated me because oftentimes a lot of our blocks are unconscious. And so human design has 64 lines, which are very individualistic to you. So you're not just being boxed in of like, oh, I'm a 5, of like 9 things or something like that. It's super individualistic, and in some of your lines they'll tell you, hey, this is an unconscious thing, or this is conscious, or depending on how your environment or who you're around, it may be a conscious or unconscious thing, like a mix of both. And so that was really, really fascinating to me.
Amazing. What are some ways that you build up your own conscious? Like, how do you increase your awareness? How do you vibrate at a higher frequency? Obviously, you mentioned yoga. You're very into yoga, things like that. But what are some other things that maybe someone doesn't know about you, a tool that you use or a modality that you use to raise your conscious?
Okay, so this is, I believe that simple shit sticks. I call it like this method. And what I really did, and this was just something intuitively that I did, it was when the very beginning of, I call it on like this 4-year journey that I went on before writing my book, Reclaim Your Powers. I literally just grabbed a notebook and I drew like a T chart, like a line down the middle of the page. And I wrote what drains my energy and what brings my energy. And it seems so silly, right, that you would carry this around for the period of, at least a week, right? Because you're going to be able to start to see patterns. And I, like, for instance, like every morning on my drive, this is when I still drove to work, I would make calls like to people that drained me, or I would be doing things like that, like, again, set me up for not success, but I didn't even realize what I was doing. So as I'm starting to jot this down, like, wow, I did not feel good after that drains energy call with X. So I did this for a period of actually longer than a week, but I think a week is sufficient for you to start understanding some of your patterns. That is an amazing exercise to do, because it brings things to your consciousness that may not be there. And it's a simplistic exercise that it doesn't take in. It's not like you have to carve out 10 minutes to journal. It's a real-time exercise that you're just jotting things down as you go.
Wow. Anything else, maybe?
Oh gosh, for like finding your passion, or for
Actually, what about, I'll take that back. What's something like a self-care tactic or strategy that's non-negotiable for you, whether it's a skincare routine or maybe even essential oils, like something for you that is non-negotiable. For me, one thing that I've been doing, obviously, I don't know, we don't know each other well, but meditation for me is like by far the most important thing I do every day. I do transcendental meditation, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. Been doing it daily since 2019, been meditating daily since 2016. But
wow.
one thing that I started doing recently is like putting coconut oil on my face. And for some reason, it just like makes my skin look better. And it just like feels good rubbing my hands into my face. And so that, for some reason, I've been so consistent about that because it just like feels really good. And I don't know, that kind of just like is one of my self-care things. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say my biggest thing is starting my day for me. So that could be 5 minutes, or it could be, sometimes it's up to 3 hours, like depending on what time I wake up. So I also have an affirmation that I created. And I believe that like affirmations, I kind of laughed at them for a while, because when my first life coach gave one to me, I was like, you really want me to use this and you think it's going to do something? And I just kind of like laughed about it. But I got to be in like such a desperate place where I wanted help that I actually started to use it for 5 minutes. I just set a timer on my phone. So it was kind of like a meditation, but um, where I would repeat this affirmation back to me, that I'm a passionate, powerful, present, and peaceful leader who is whole and complete and an instrument of divine light and love. And so it was something that resonated with me, and I chose those words for something that I wanted to be, and 2 of the words are something that I just innately are. And it's continued to land for me. So I use that on a daily basis. It also helped calm my anxiety. So like I would start to use it throughout the day, because I realized, holy shit, this is actually working for me.
Amazing.
And it just, yeah, it's something that has become a part of my life. And when you think about those words, like I'm a passionate, powerful, present, and peaceful leader, I try to, whatever actions I take in my life, you will notice a correlation back to that affirmation. So
Love it.
that is another modality.
Affirmations absolutely work. Believing them, saying them is one thing, believing them is another thing, right? And it's just like saying thank you to someone or saying you're grateful or you appreciate someone. That doesn't mean shit. You got to feel it. And when you feel it, things will change. So affirmations, are extremely powerful when you actually believe them. And the more you say them, eventually you're going to believe them. You're just like opening up your subconscious mind. I mean, you guys, this is science. And that is why I've published a ton of positive affirmations on the app. So if you haven't checked out the Life Coach Zach app, you can go to lifecoachzach.app. There's a ton of positive affirmations there that you can check out. So to all the people that are listening and want to connect more with Lauren, you can follow her on Instagram at mind_muscle_motivator, or you can head over to her website, mindmusclemotivator.com, and then obviously purchase her book, Reclaim Your Power, on Amazon. Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we wrap up?
I would say just, follow your energy and just remember that you are an instrument of light and love, and the sky's the limit.
That's it. Sky's the limit. Gotta believe it, guys. You just gotta believe it. It'll happen. Lauren, wish you all the health, wealth, success, and happiness for you, all your friends, and your family this year. And we will absolutely connect again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Zach.